You are now listening to the Mythic Rare Podcast, hosted by AetherHub, featuring your hosts, Graham Pollard and the Icon Willy B.
All right, welcome to the first ever Mythic Rare Podcast hosted by AetherHub. The first episode of which I'm sure will no doubt become the biggest and best podcast in Magic the Gathering very soon. I'm your host, Graham Pollard, joined as always by my co-host, the one, the only, the Icon Willy B. Willy B, how are you, sir?
Oh, Mr. Pollard, I am just living on cloud nine right now, my good sir. We are back in the booth, ready to go, being able to just talk about all these amazing things, especially Magic the Gathering, which is going to be popping off, especially just like this podcast, man. We're going to be reaching new levels in the podcast industry, and I think Magic the Gathering is going to be reaching new levels in the esports industry. It feels good to be back with you, man.
I could not agree more. I should just explain for everyone listening, the Icon Willy B, that's just not a podcast name or a gamer tag. That's just what everyone calls them. Teachers, professors, girls, if we ever talk to any.
Yeah. It's honestly a lifestyle at this point. People see me and like, yes, that's the Icon. That's Willy B. And, it resembles what the show is going to be so well. It's flamboyant. It is something electric. It's something extra, just like me, just like my co-host, Mr. Pollard over here. The Icon Willy B truly is a matter of who I am. And I think, especially when it comes to talking about esports, Magic the Gathering, and when it comes to dancing, which, if you ever want to look it up, I am quite a hit. I've been a sensation, especially with my girl CASSIDI. We still love you, girl.
Willy B is regionally famous for dancing in the 8th inning to the song Sandstorm at our college baseball games. But it's not just any dance. It's quite the display of animation, I would say. Double jointed on display, the worm on the bleachers, the leg over the shoulder. Anything you can think of, Willy B delivers. It gets the crowd going. It gets the players going. It gets the Kentucky baseball Twitter account going. It gets everything going, and I strongly recommend you looking it up at some point.
Oh, absolutely. And then also, don't forget to check out our girl CASSIDI. My buddy, Mr. Pollard over here, combined a dance video between the two of us. We are your biggest fans, CASSIDI. If you ever want to come on, drop a set for us, especially at a Magic the Gathering tournament sometime. Maybe we can link you up when this podcast blows up. And, maybe one of the AetherHub tournaments, we can get you to come down, CASSIDI, and open up the tournament with your singing.
Since nobody listening knows who CASSIDI is, CASSIDI is Willy B's the love of his life. She is a singer that has about 150 Twitter followers, but somehow opened for the plain white tees. The plain white stripes, at the plain white tee.
No, it is the plain white tee.
It is the plain white. What's the stripes one then? That's the
isn't it like, I don't even know who the stripes.
I don't know what I was thinking of. So it is the plain white tee.
Yes, the plain white tee.
I would say it's probably the ratio of the least amount of Twitter followers to highest amount of Twitter followers for an opening act to like headliner act in music history. But regardless, CASSIDI won't be listening, but if she is, Willy B loves you, and he's bought a ring already. So,
yes, of course.
But anyways,
a ring from Walmart.
Yeah. We digress. We've probably lost half the audience already. But just to talk about this podcast a little bit, it's not going to be all ranting about Willy B's love life. So we know there's a lot of Magic the Gathering podcasts out there, and it seems like most of them are done by competitive players, and they tend to focus on strictly a decklist strategy, which is great, and I love listening to those too. But Willy B and I are not competitive players. We're definitely enthusiasts, and we play the game a lot, but we're not competing at a professional level. But we do come from a radio and entertainment background, and we're hoping to bring that experience to Magic the Gathering to create just kind of a cultural entertainment podcast that it's going to be maybe 80% talking about the game and 20% talking about just general things that fans of Magic talk about. And it's going to be pretty electric, and I can't wait to dive into this with you, Willy B.
Oh, yes. I cannot be more thrilled about this. As Graham stated, we once ran a podcast together, or a radio show together. Yeah, it wasn't a podcast, a radio show together. And, Graham used to get a little upset at me because I would be watching the Overwatch League specifically during the middle of our radio show because I am just full in on this esports scene. And I'm so excited to see the places that it's going, especially Magic the Gathering. So for those of you that don't know, Magic the Gathering is a card game that's been around for 20 plus years, but now it's also expanded into being played online as well too, which is really cool because it's an esport that can be played in person or online. And then, the prize money has just been going out the wazoo. $1 million prize pools for tournaments now. Even earlier this past year, they broke 100,000 plus viewers on Twitch and one stream, which is huge numbers for Magic the Gathering, huge for the scene. Heck, even Sunday of this past week, the Overwatch League was on ABC on NFL Sunday, like literally primetime afternoon. Overwatch League is on ABC just to show how far the esports scene has come, and we are so excited to bring you talking about Magic the Gathering. It's just going to be such a fantastic time.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, honestly, to touch on what you were saying, one of the most compelling things about competitive Magic is the head-to-head format, because you really don't see that in any other esports. But I love it. You get two people face-to-face, cards in hand, mano-a-mano, $100,000 on the line. The best man wins, sweat dripping down the face. Any mistake could cost you a large chunk of change. The intensity is through the roof. I think it's absolutely incredible to watch. And I think as the game grows and the prize money grows, the stakes are just going to get higher and higher. Things are going to get more and more competitive. Things are going to get more and more heated out there. And we're going to be along for the ride.
Yeah, no, I cannot be any more excited about this. And I guess we should probably start just kind of giving a little bit of background about the game and then just some of the decks that we're using now, because there was actually a release of a new deck or a new thing that kind of changed the game in the way that it's been played. So Mr. Pollard, if you would like to show our viewers or listeners, what that's about.
Yeah, well, I'm sure everyone who's listening to this already knows that Throne of Eldraine just dropped, and I think Wizards has really stepped up their game on basically every single thing that they've done with this, from the trailer, which was a really high-quality trailer, and it's amazing to see how far the trailers have gone from just a couple years ago. But from the trailers to the flavor, the fairy tale lore is really cool, and I think that's going to get a lot of new players into the game. That's kind of why we're introing this podcast on a basic level, because one of our goals of this podcast is to reach out to new players too, and to get them to come on to Aether Hub, which is just, in my opinion, the best content platform for Magic the Gathering. If you're a content creator or you want to become a content creator and you're not using Aether Hub already, you're doing something wrong. Just for $1.20 a month, you can post as many articles as you want on the website, and without even paying anything, you can post your deck list. You can browse deck lists that other people make. I know for me in specific, if I've got a card that I want to build around and I've got a deck that's okay, but I just feel like it's not right there, you can actually plug the card name into the Aether Hub deck search, see other decks that people have been making with that card, and almost always that gives me some ideas to put the finishing touches on what is sure to be an average deck.
Yeah.
Because, I'm not hitting Mythic top 10 anytime soon, but it would be a hell of a lot better than it would be if I wasn't using Aether Hub to create my decks, that's for sure. But if you want to, get into Magic content creation, like I said, there is no better website out there than Aether Hub. Like I said, $1.20 a month. You can post as many articles as you want. You can get as many viewers as the quality of your articles leads to. And as the game grows, this whole community is going to grow. Aether Hub's got an amazing Discord that is really helpful to join if you're not in it yet. And also in this podcast, we're going to be featuring content creators, YouTubers, Twitch streamers, and we've got some really big names lined up. This is going to be part 1 of the podcast, but part 2 is going to drop later this week. We've got a couple really big guests lined up for the next couple of weeks, so I'm really excited to share those with you guys, get to know them better, get to know them on more of a personal level, talk about deck lists and more strategy with them. When we have a special guest on like that, it's going to be more strategy-based. When it's just me and Willy B, we're going to be more just talking
the ins and outs of the game, the cultural, not necessarily. Our goal, obviously, in a market that is full of different podcasts, of different creators, different content creators of Magic the Gathering, me and Graham, we're not we're not the best players, and we know that. We are not coming here to compete with that. What we're coming here for is to show you the ins and
Top
outs.
shelf entertainment, baby.
Yeah,
That's what we bring.
It's entertainment while furthering your game. And so it's
speaking of that, sorry to cut you off, Willy B.
No, of course.
But I haven't brought this up to you yet. We're recording this on Monday, and we happen to be playing each other in fantasy football this week. And I'm not just saying this for the podcast. This was the single most miracle fantasy football win I've ever had in my entire life. And I just want to rub that in a little bit.
Oh, it was absolutely brutal. I don't even want to talk about it, even though I have a football game.
I'm going to talk about it. So at about 6 o'clock at night, I was projected to lose by 50. I had my kicker and my punter left. Willy B had Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott left. My kicker happens to be Will Lutz on the Saints, gets me 14 points. My punter also gets me 14 points. Dak Prescott just lays a turd on the field, and then I win by 8. So, yeah, suck it.
It was absolutely brutal. It was, unfortunate. And that is why I'm losing all interest in the, original sports. And that's why I'm full blown on the esports scene. That's what I'm here for, Forget about that fantasy football. Forget about all that junk. I'm here for the esports grind, baby. And so, Mr. Pollard, I want to know, what is the deck that you have been playing?
Well, that is an incredible segue, Willy B. And for Throne of Eldraine, I've honestly, first of all, I feel like since I'm doing this podcast, I really have to step up my game a little bit. Now that I think I'm a part of the scene. So I've honestly made by far my best deck ever, and I've actually been winning at an incredibly high rate with it, so much to the point where I think it actually might be good. And it's kind of a creative deck. It's similar to what a lot of people are playing because it's a Gilded Goose Garruk deck, but there's several really unique combos in it that have just been giving me an incredible top end, which I would love to brag about. So really the foundation of the deck is a Spark Double Garruk combo. And the Spark Double Garruk combo is pretty filthy because you put Garruk down, and then the next turn you can put Spark Double down to the Garruk. And when you do that with Spark Double's ability, it comes into the battlefield with 1 additional loyalty counter on a Planeswalker that you copy. So that means you can ultimate Garruk right away. So you can have basically 4 5/5 creatures with trample the second turn you do that. And I almost never lose when I get that off. But a couple other combos I have, I'm playing 3 copies of Nissa and 1 copy of Plane-Wide Celebration, and a couple copies of Oko too. And if you guys don't know the Nissa Plane-Wide Celebration combo, it's also pretty filthy. So you play Nissa, and you can play Nissa on turn 3 with this deck relatively easily because I'm playing 4 Paradise Druid, 4 Gilded Goose, and then 2 Midnight Clocks, which gives you 1 blue mana ramp in addition to its other abilities. But anyways, so you get Nissa down, and then the next turn with Nissa, if it survives in the battlefield, which it usually does, you can automatically play Plane-Wide Celebration next turn because of the ramp of Nissa. And when you do that, you can proliferate 4 times with Plane-Wide Celebration. That's basically the only ability in that card I use, even though you have 4 to choose from. But when you do that, you can ultimate Nissa turn 2 also, which gives you all of your forests out in the battlefield, and also a 7/7 indestructible with Vigilance, which is pretty unstoppable.
Yeah, that sounds like a solid deck that you have there.
It's pretty good.
You're amping it up, getting ready for the scene. Trying to make sure that we're on top of our game, so we can provide our viewers with great content.
No, it's funny. I'm usually the type of guy that will go out on Friday night and hang out with friends or whatever. But the last couple weekends, now that I know I've been doing this podcast, I've been staying in, just cracking open some White Claws. And just been getting incredibly hype about my victories. Winning a game, fist pumps at the wazoo, cheers. My neighbors probably think I'm losing my mind, but that's okay. But there is no better duo than White Claw and Magic the Gathering. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, I can't imagine that. That's the perfect night, the perfect Friday night, man. Sit in, throw down a couple White Claws. When you get that victory, boom, smash the can on your head to assert even more dominance. Absolutely. Honestly, absolutely electric. Now I'm going to get into what I've been playing, so far for the first couple of days since the latest release. I've been playing the Golgari Henge, and basically the goal is to ramp into the Great Henge. And you do that mostly through the Growth Chamber Guardian, which is just a massive combo that is huge. And is just plays a vital role in the whole style of this deck. And
yeah.
then,
That combo is so if I am thinking about this right, it's if you play the Great Henge, you can basically play a Grove Chamber Guardian for free essentially because of the 2 mana from the Great Henge. And then when the Grove Chamber Guardian enters the battlefield, the Great Henge puts a +1/+1 counter on it. So you can basically cycle through all 4 of your Grove Chamber Guardians with like half the mana that you would usually do, which is pretty filthy.
Yeah, exactly. And then on top of that, then you also have the Questing Beast, which is one of the new cards, and it has haste, which obviously, as you guys know, that means that you can attack the same turn that you play, which is absolutely helpful for me. Like, I love that aspect. And honestly, the whole point of the deck that I've been playing is that you get a bunch of really good low mana creatures to overwhelm your opponent. And the reason why I love that is just because that's the way that I love to play. That's the kind of attitude, the kind of mentality I've always had, especially when it came to sports growing up. So for those of you that actually watch other sports as well too, specifically college basketball, my favorite college basketball player of all time is Aaron Kraft. Not because he was the best player, not because he was, some freakish athlete that was superstar, just had these killer moves. It's because he was a good old hard-nosed, scrappy dog. He was willing in there to get down and dirty, to dominate his opponent, to annoy them. And it didn't matter, what was going on throughout that entire game. He stayed cool, calm, and collected. And that's how you got to be whenever you're playing with the Golgari Henge. You have to be cool, calm, collected. You have to, put your heart in the cards. You got to trust them that you're going to be able to get these combos off. And then, because at the end of the day, the creatures themselves really aren't that powerful. But when you're able to combo them and you're able to bring them together, then you can start to overwhelm your opponent. So it's like, it's one of those things. When I was a basketball coach as well too, I used to make my kids run a press. And the reason being is, my dad always said, he had this one statement: running a full court press is like poking somebody's arm. When you first do it, it doesn't really matter. You're like, okay, dude, what's going on? But then you just keep pressing it in that same spot, and eventually they're going to be like, all right, dude, that's starting to hurt. And that's how it is playing the Golgari Henge cards. Man, you're just sitting there poking at somebody's arm, and they're like, this is nothing. And they think that they're dominating you. And all of a sudden, you keep hitting that same spot over and over again. And all of a sudden, those low mana creatures, or that little finger poke that you're doing to somebody's arm, boom, you overwhelm them, you take them over, and you get that victory. And that is why I love this deck so much.
Dude, that was a fantastic analogy. And I can say with the utmost confidence, you're probably the only person to compare a Magic the Gathering strategy to a full court press. But I thought you executed that analogy to total perfection.
I appreciate that. That's what I'm here for, The entertainment factor, the analogy. They don't call me the icon.
That's top shelf analysis, baby.
Yes.
Yeah. I can totally see you at the next Mythic Championship, just with retired to you, and you're just dominating the interview scene like that.
Oh, I can't wait for it. That's honestly one of the goals, is that we can be at one of those big time Mythic Championships, especially if we get this podcast kickoff rolling. Maybe we can get out to the one in Richmond, because it's not too far of a travel for both of us, and I think that would be electric. Even bring in some of the tailgating scene with some White Claws, dude. Like we said,
great
White
idea.
Claws.
No, I definitely plan on tailgating the Richmond Magic the Gathering. And it's not like Richmond's a big college football town, so I feel like we can definitely have the best tailgate in Richmond for the Mythic Championship. That's going to be electric. The White Claws are going to be flowing. Well, the cool thing with this idea actually is that when you go to a normal tailgate, you're kind of limited to like cornhole and some sort of beer pong variant. But at the Magic the Gathering tailgate, you got cornhole, you got beer pong, and you also got Magic the Gathering, the trifecta, some would say.
Exactly. And then even then, like, you get that face-to-face perspective of, because obviously nowadays
it's just a hype build up.
Everybody's playing arena too most of the time. Obviously, yeah, you still have those people that play face-to-face with your buddies, but you can really only do it with your best friends. But now you get to go to the tailgating scene, you get to talk a little trash, get a couple White Claws in you. Not that we encourage you drinking irresponsibly, but your blood gets going a little bit. You're feeling a little good. You're feeling it on a different level. And so now the trash talk comes in, and man, it would be absolutely electric. Even wager some cards and stuff like that. Like, it would be fantastic times. And you can set house rules like, hey, you can only use like these certain we're gonna go only this meta or this, that, and the other.
Yeah, no, I haven't come up with this yet, but I feel like you could definitely create some sort of Magic the Gathering like drinking game. Like, I don't know, maybe whenever you play a 5-drop, the other opponent needs to take a drink. I don't know. That's a pretty lame rule, but for this tailgate, that's a couple months away. We got time to come up with something.
Oh, exactly. And man, I can't wait. And I really want to go to one of those, and especially get a little bit of, one of the things that I think is so unique, like you said, about the Magic the Gathering scene is the fact that it's both online, but then also in person, and the fact that you get to have these face-to-face stare downs, and somebody's just throwing down a card, and you get that stare. What we're here for is the entertainment aspect, slightly more of a spectacle, as well as the beauty and the strategy behind it. And so, what I think you could agree with me on this is, I wish players would be a little bit more flamboyant.
Totally agree.
A little bit more trash talking, a little bit like, you're really gonna play that right now? And I get it. Don't get me wrong. Like, in this type of organization, obviously, we don't want to bring hate upon anybody, because especially with esports, video games as a whole, there's so much negativity that's already on everybody in this community. And so we should really be bringing each other up. But also, you can be friends after the game. What you need to remember is, in the game, in the moment, it's time to talk trash. It's time to do what it takes to win. Afterwards, that's when you're like, hey, man, that was a heck of a game. Or, dude, man, you really got in my head. Like, I'll try better next time to not let you get, or, I'll talk more smack to you. And these are the rivalries. It builds up rivalries. It builds up, the spectacle, and it brings in more viewers, in my personal opinion.
Totally agree. Could not agree more. And, yeah, I'm not sure if this would be a good or a bad thing for the game, but I would like at one point in my life for someone to lose on, like, a misplay and just flip the table.
Yeah. Just absolutely I want to see somebody rage mid-game. Like, they realize that they just messed something up and they just flip the whole table, and like you said, and everybody.
I don't know what would happen. I
don't
know if they'd have to, like, if it's got to be a DQ, I guess, if someone does that. But that's getting on SportsCenter.
Oh yeah, exactly. And you know what? At some points, you just need any type of publicity that you can get, so to say.
Yeah. No. Maybe one day I'll become like actually good enough to be a competitive player, and if I do, I'm totally becoming like the Al Davis of Magic. And just showing up with like a massive stogie, leather jacket, slick back hair, even though my hair looks pretty bad when I'm trying to slick it back, but I'll do it for the effect. And then when Becca Ross interviews me, like during a game, or after a game, and Becca Ross is the most like cheerful, positive, peppy, like great person. And she'll ask me, so she'll be like, hey, Graham, like, you played a great game today. I'll be like, no, I didn't play good enough, Becca.
Yeah.
Hit her with some Al Davis, or just Bill Belichick answers.
Or Nick Saban, like, yeah. No, I'm still upset. Like, you absolutely just obliterate them. Don't drop any points in your life, and you just like eliminate them, straight up skunk them, and you're like, I could have played better.
There's a lot I could have improved on in this game. We're gonna have to go back and review the film.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just some type of because even in the Overwatch League, there's been a couple people that have stepped up and taken that role into being the bad character. For example, the local team for us, Graham, which, the reason why I'm saying local team is because they're actually going to be playing in Atlanta starting next year. The Atlanta Reign, they got my man Dogman out there who's willingly talking trash. Or my favorite moment is they're playing on the stage and whatnot. They just finished, absolutely obliterated this team. Dogman stands up, yells at the crowd, and goes, so-and-so is a feeder, and just like, it's just like things like that are just so electric. And he just straight up called out, the guy that he's playing against, it just said that he was feeding, which basically just means that he was feeding their team kills, and was just playing horrible. And it was the funniest moment that I think I've witnessed, and just something like that, like, coming up with some magic lingo to trash talk, the
MPL is, the MPL could improve, obviously, but there definitely needs to be some rivalries develop over the years. And, I don't know. Maybe, like, I can see, I don't know, Brad Nelson maybe getting into it with someone. Probably not. I don't know. I'm grasping at straws here. But I'd like to see some upstart come in, disrupt the MPL, because they relegate, I forget how many. I think they relegate 8 or 4 at the end of the year. And then people from rivals can come in. So I'd like to see some upstart climb up the ranks and start talking trash. and get some feuds going one day down the line.
Oh, exactly. But, obviously, since we like this kind of entertainment, what better way to talk about the game than with a jank deck of the week? Obviously, as you can tell, me and Graham, we're not, necessarily by the book types of people. So we also enjoy having these jank decks of the week. So, Graham, if you'd like to give them a little bit of background about what exactly a jank deck is and what your jank deck of the week.
So, jank decks, most people know this, obviously, but just in case we get some new listeners, jank deck is kind of a deck that's not really a competitive deck, but it's an out there kind of deck. It's got some crazy unique combo. It's not a deck you're going to use if you're going to be competing in Mythic, but it's a deck if you want to mix it up and go off of ranked and just have some fun. This is the type of deck you're going to use. And my jank deck of the week, I've got a good one, and I apologize if I butcher this name, but it's by Zomulio, I believe. And the deck is called Quasi-Dupli Dwarves. So this deck uses the new card in Eldraine, 7 Dwarves. And if you haven't seen this card yet, it's the card that you can play 7 of them as opposed to just 4. And for each card named 7 Dwarves in the battlefield, each 7 Dwarves gets +1/+1. So he plays all 7 of those. But then, this is where it gets spicy, he plays 4 Quasi-Duplicate, 4 Spark Double, and 4 Mirror March, and 4 Icon of Ancestry. So basically, the only standalone creature in this entire deck is the 7 Dwarves, so that's obviously not going to work very often. But if you get one out, you can copy that twice with Quasi-Duplicate. You can copy it with Spark Double, which puts a +1/+1 counter on it. And then if you get Mirror March going, you can just get lucky and get like 4 or 5 of them. Mirror March is a card where whenever a creature enters the battlefield, you flip a coin, and for every coin flip you win, you create a token of it. So if you can get lucky, I remember someone legitimately, this is not a lie, won 12 in a row against me one time, and I obviously just quit on the spot after that because that was absolutely absurd. But if you got just like 4 or 5 in a row, that's pretty electric combo, and you got to tap your hat, give a tip of the hat to anyone that can pull it off and win. I tried the deck. I didn't do too very well, but it was very fun, and I definitely recommend it, checking it out if you've got all the cards already unlocked. I wouldn't blow any wild cards on it, but a fun deck if you have the resources to play. And all of these decks that we're talking about are going to be posted. Well, this one is already posted on A4 Hub, but we're going to have an article that'll have links to all these decks in them, so you can check it out there. What is your jank deck of the week, Willy B?
Oh, my jank deck of the week is the Infinite Token Annoyance. I mean, what better deck to suit me and my personality than this type of deck? Like I said, that little finger poking, honestly. So basically, like the way that this deck works is obviously it's not that good of a deck, but you basically draw cards to get the Improbable Alliance and the Pyromancer card. That's basically the whole point of it, is you're just trying to get these 2 cards, and you're relying on all of your other cards drawing to allow these 2 cards to play. And that's why I like it, because you just keep drawing and keep playing all these like little cards that just seem like almost worthless, and it's like, dude, I'm still like whooping you, and then bam, you turn the tables on them with the Improbable Alliance and the Pyromancer card.
Yeah, the Improbable Alliance can get pretty annoying because you can just make a token every turn with that deck basically, and then the Pyromancer will finish him off. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the best way to go. That's like the reason why I enjoy playing this deck is. And the same thing, that's a beautiful thing about Magic the Gathering, is the fact that there's so many different decks that you can play. There's so many different possibilities because, like we said, the game's been around for 20 plus years. And so there's so many cards and so many different things. And obviously, I think one of the reasons that may, quote unquote, be holding us back a little bit from becoming pros is obviously the fact of our love for just trying out different things, being a little bit of radical, being, entertainers, so to say. Yeah. And that's why I love this game. That's what drew me in to Magic the Gathering, is the fact that the game is always changing. They're still making releases 20 years after the original release. Like, they're releasing new cards. There's constant changes, constant meta changes. So it never gets stale, because that's the current state that some games get in. For example, in Overwatch, there's this one streamer, XQC, which he's a very famous streamer in the Overwatch scene, and just famous streamer in general. But Overwatch is at this point where it's kind of a stalemate. Like, none of the pros are really enjoying the meta right now. and XQC was playing, and his chat was roasting him like, "Oh, you're just a Masters, like you're not even Grandmaster anymore, like washed up Overwatch League player." And he was like, "Dude, like I can easily win any game I want to, like if I play the boring way, the simple way." But the thing is, he was like, "I enjoy playing the game, and I still am trying to have as much fun as possible." So when he played the game this way he was supposed to, he absolutely dominated. But he was like, "That wasn't fun." And I think like the big thing that like resonates with me, because I'm like, you know what? Yes, there are certain times, especially as you get later in a couple weeks, couple months into the the latest release, you guys kind of figure out what decks work, what decks don't work, and so you get in that groove. But for me, and I think for you as well too, we always like trying new things. We always try to find a different way to win, because obviously, yes, we want to win, but we also want to be entertained. We don't want to get in that stalemate. Yeah. And that's what I love about Magic, though, is that it's constantly changing. So even when it does start to get a little stale, boom, it's re-energized, it's relit. Like, it's
totally agree. Yeah, no, and that honestly, like, for some reason, I just have some stubborn trait in my brain where I refuse to play like the most popular competitive decks. Partially because I think that I'm smart enough to come up with something better, but that's just objectively not true.
Yeah.
But also just because I think it's more fun to win with something that they just never see coming. But I think that's a great segue into my YouTuber content creator deck of the week. And every week we're going to highlight a content creator or YouTuber who we think is doing a really good job, and it's coming out with a really cool deck. And for this week, my content creator that I like to highlight is a guy called Mono Black Magic. If you guys aren't following him, you should definitely check it out, because the guy is an absolute genius. I mean, no disrespect to anyone else who streams. I think everyone who streams does a great job, but this guy is just on a whole nother level when it comes to deck building. His brain is just like, the stuff that he comes up with every single day for the whole meta is really impressive, especially, when it's only like a 4-set standard like it is now, or 5-set standard, excuse me. There's less combos out there, but this guy finds a way somehow that every single day he's putting out a video where it's like, wow, I never would have thought of that, and that seems really good. And this week, I'd like to highlight a deck that he made that features Kenrith, the Return King, as well as Fires of Invention combo. So Fires of Invention is a super popular card that everyone's playing. Basically lets you play 2 cards a turn for the price of 1, essentially. And Kenrith the Return King is a card not many people are playing, but it's a pretty cool card. It's a 5/5 for 5 mana, white, and it's the one where it's got 5 different abilities, and each ability requires a different mana color. So there's like a red ability, a blue ability, white ability, et cetera, et cetera. And how this deck works is it uses Fire of Invention to get down Kenrith, and then he is also playing 4 copies of Agent of Treasury, 4 copies of Cavalier of Gales to help find the combo, and then 4 copies of Ilharg the Raiseboar. So in one turn, and this is just an absolutely bonkers turn if you can get it off, and it's not too unrealistic to get it off. You can play Fires of Invention and play whatever. He's playing Deafening Clarion in the early game to clear the board, which is actually a really good card in this meta right now. But in one turn, you can play, if you have the lands, Kenrith the Return King. You can play Ilharg. And Ilharg is the red board god card that when it attacks, you can put a card from your hand onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. So you can play both of those with Fires of Invention. And then because you haven't used any mana to play them, you can activate Kenrith's red ability, which gives all creatures you control trample and haste. So in one turn, you can play Kenrith, Ilharg, give it haste, attack with Ilharg, and play either Cavalier of Gales and Agent of Treachery, steal their cards. If that's not a game-winning combo, I don't know what is. Tip of the hat to you, Mono Black Magic. You've done it again, as always. Great deck. I wish I had the cards to play it, but I loved watching you stream it. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what you come up with throughout the season.
Yeah, that sounds a fantastic deck, and just another one of the amazing content creators that you can always follow in this beautiful game. And so my content creator deck of the week comes from Mogwai, and it's the inventive Grixis. And so for those of you that don't know, this man has just been going after the Grixis, and you have to admire his tenacity. Basically uses the same deck regardless of the meta, constantly, like never really changing, and that's something that both Graham and myself just absolutely adore is that mentality of I'm going to get it done. Whether or not it's the popular thing, just like Graham was alluding to about how he doesn't like playing the meta most of the time because he wants to, win on his own. That is what this Grixis deck has done. However, this time, for a change, it might actually fit in because of, like Graham was talking about, that Fires of Invention card is also in this deck as well too. And I think that is just a huge play in the deck, and it's just a beautiful thing to see. Obviously, it uses the cool thing about Grixis is it uses a little bit of it all, different types of lands, which is always just super cool to see. Just makes it a little bit more entertaining.
Yeah, Grixis has always been like just not quite there. I feel like the last couple standards or the last couple rotations. I mean, it's like always good, but just not good enough. And we'll see how this works, how it is this time. I honestly feel like I've been beating the deck a lot. But if you can get Fires of Invention down and then get Chandra and Ugin or Chandra and Nicol Bolas Dragon God, that's also a pretty deadly combo. Fires of Invention is just a crazy card all around. But yeah, no, I love that deck choice, Willy B. Mogwai is making a lot of cool stuff. And one thing I like about him is he likes to go back to the decks and replay them over the course of the 4 months before the new set comes out. And he's actually ranked top 69 in Mythic right now as of at least 1 or 2 days ago. So congratulations to him. What a milestone. Top 69, baby. That's nice. Huge. I actually think that Magic should, if you finish at number 69, you should get some sort of prize. I don't know what that would be. Maybe like a card sleeve or something that just says 69 on it. But that would be pretty funny.
Yeah, I think it'd be great. And just like we were talking about, all these decks are posted on Aether Hub, or if they're not, we're going to post a link to them as well too. But the cool thing is, like we said, you can interact with these people. And so even underneath this Inventive Grixis decks, there's people talking about how one dude's talking about how he got from flat 4 to diamond in like one sitting off of this deck. Another person was talking about how, sometimes you feel like you're losing in like, he was talking about how he's losing 20-8, and then boom, all of a sudden tables are turned and he just dominates them and ends up winning. And it's just talking about like all these cool things, and that's another reason why this Grixis deck is cool. And like I said, it's just entertaining. Obviously you can sit with one specific meta, one specific type if you would like, but the Grixis plays a little bit of it all, and it makes it, it adds a little bit of flair, that flamboyancy, that little bit of pizzazz.
Yeah, it's not like it seems like, I don't know. I haven't really got a great read on what the number one deck is going to be, because I see people on Twitter posting like all sorts of decks saying, like, oh, 10-0 just went to Mythic. And then I know if I played that, I wouldn't do that well on it, but that's probably just me. But I don't know. I'm really interested in seeing how it's going to evolve, and Mythic Championship is coming up, so that'll be cool to tune in. Anyways, one thing we're going to do every week is we're going to have some sort of challenge that Willy B and I are going to play each other with. Try to come up with some cool deck, but that's, got some interesting flavor to it. So for this week, we're both going to make a deck using Once Upon a Time and Happily Ever After. And Happily Ever After is just not a very good card, to be fair. But the loser of the challenge is going to have to do some sort of punishment that we're going to post on Twitter for your entertainment. I haven't come up with that yet, but it's going to be pretty exciting, so definitely stay tuned for that.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. And like we said, obviously this is our first episode of what we plan on having, a lot more episodes every single week. And another segment that we may start doing, especially as we get a larger following, is, mail time. Mail call. We'll connect with you guys on Discord, email, social media, all that stuff. And you guys are more than welcome to send us questions about a certain deck or, a certain player, and, just anything like that you guys would like for us to answer. And we will gladly, take time out of our show to answer that, because obviously we're here for our own entertainment, but most importantly, we're here for the entertainment of our viewers. We want you guys to have a good time where you can learn something new, where you are willing to try, but most importantly, you're just entertained. You're having a good time. And when you're listening to us speak, and all of a sudden you look down at your watch and you realize that 45 minutes has passed, and it felt like 10 minutes.
By.
You're gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, this is electric, dude!" Like, I love these guys because honestly, we're content creators. We're here.
Yeah, and we want to interact with you. So if you have a really cool, jank deck you come up with, send it to us. I want to play some direct challenges against you guys, especially those in Team Aether in the Discord. Definitely want to see what you guys are playing. I'm really excited to see this go forward. Coming up this week, we have a very special guest. And I don't know if I want to reveal who it is quite yet, but the first 3 letters are MTG, and the last name rhymes with Beth. Let's put it that way. And then next week, hopefully, we've booked another really big guest. I'm really looking forward to that. Willy B, are you gonna be playing after this? I certainly will be.
Oh yes, of course. I'm gonna hop right on the grind because it's the Steelers Bengals today.
Yeah,
so who
no
cares
one wants to watch that game.
Who cares about that Monday Night Football game? And even
although I do like Mason Rudolph a lot, but Oklahoma State product.
Oh yeah, exactly. But I'm gonna go hop on to Marina. I might play a little bit of rank tonight. Depends how I'll probably get a win or two.
Frisky or not?
Yeah. I'm a little brain dead. Just because it's that Monday. It's that Monday mood.
I'm always saying,
class. Yeah.
Did you see Mike Leach call his players fat, ugly, and soft, or something like that after the game?
Absolutely.
I love Mike Leach.
Mike Leach is a treasure.
National treasure.
National treasure. Yes.
That's the Washington State football coach, by the way, if no one knows what we're talking about. I'm a huge Mike Leach fan because he allegedly locked a player in a closet and told him not to come out for like 2 hours until he got his shit together. Yeah. But apparently that's not true, but I don't know. I still want to
No, he definitely got in trouble for that.
Well, he got suspended for it, but then apparently it came out like the guy's dad was like the head of a PR firm and like created this whole stick, and Mike Leach is still like proclaiming that he never did it. People on the team say he never did it too. But I kind of think it's good for his reputation as like a tough guy football coach.
Yeah.
And also, in other news, Western Carolina, where we both went to school, every year in football, we're terrible. We have some viral moment, and that happened this week when our punter was like all over Twitter for having a 69 yard touchdown run for a punter, which was pretty electric. Pat McAfee was tweeting about it, made it on SportsCenter a lot.
Bleacher Report literally made it on every big-time sports outlet.
Yeah, so go Cats. All right, well, Willy B, I think we should wrap it up here. This was a great podcast, and we will be back later this week with a interview with our special guest that we hinted at, but I'm sure no one could figure out who that is based on my
very hard hints.
Yeah, very hard riddle that I gave you. All right, well, this is awesome. Willy B, bid you adieu, and I'll talk to you later.
All righty, talk to you later. Pleasure, my friend.
Absolutely.